Over 29,000 Exchange servers remain unpatched. Citrix Bleed 2 exploited to breach organizations in the Netherlands, with 3,000 unpatched appliances observed still globally on the web. Fortinet SSL VPNs hit by global brute force wave, and observations from DEFCON 33. This is Cybersecurity Today, and I'm your host, David Shipley, coming to you from back home in unusually humid Fredericton, New Brunswick. Over 29,000 Microsoft Exchange servers remain unpatched against a high-severity vulnerability tracked as CVE 2025-53786, which was first disclosed on August 7th. The flaw affects Exchange Server 2016, Exchange Server 2019, and the subscription edition in hybrid configurations. If exploited, attackers with admin access to an on-premises Exchange could escalate privileges in connected Microsoft Cloud environments by forging trusted tokens or API calls, potentially leading to full domain compromise, while leaving minimal traces. Microsoft fixed this vulnerability in April 2025, issuing a hotfix and urging organizations to adopt a new hybrid architecture that replaces insecure shared identity mechanisms. According to Shadow Server scans on August 10th, 7,200 unpatched servers were found in the US, 6,700 in Germany, and 2,500 in Russia. While Microsoft has not confirmed active exploitation, the flaw is rated exploitation most likely. The day after the disclosure on August 7th, CISA issued Emergency Directive 2502, requiring all federal civilian executive branch agencies to mitigate the threat by Monday morning, August 11th at 9 a.m. Steps to mitigate include inventorying Exchange environments, disconnecting unsupported public-facing servers, and applying April 2025 cumulative updates, CU14 or CU15 for Exchange 2019, and CU23 for Exchange 2016, along with Microsoft's hotfix. CISA warned that the failure to patch could result in complete hybrid and on-premise domain compromise. Though the directive applies only to federal agencies, CISA is urging all organizations to take the same actions. And, if you're listening, if they made folks in government get this done over the weekend, you can bet this was urgent. Speaking of vulnerabilities the government gave extremely short notice to patch that should be dealt with, but thousands still remain vulnerable, the exploitation of Citrix Bleed 2 continues to ramp up, with now the Netherlands alerting incidents this week to critical agencies and infrastructure. More than 3,300 Citrix NetScaler devices remain unpatched against CVE 2025-5777, a critical vulnerability dubbed Citrix Bleed 2, nearly 2 months after fixes were released. The flaw allows unauthenticated attackers to read out-of-bounds memory on vulnerable appliances configured as a gateway or AAA virtual server, enabling the theft of session tokens, credentials, and other sensitive data. Successful exploitation can let attackers hijack sessions and bypass multi-factor authentication. Proof-of-concept exploits began appearing less than 2 weeks after the disclosure. Shadow Server reports that as of Monday, 3,312 appliances remain exposed, with exploitation observed in the wild before the public release of the POC. Shadow Server also detected 4,142 devices unpatched against another critical flaw, CVE 2025-6543. Citrix says this memory overflow vulnerability can lead to denial of service, but the Netherlands National Cybersecurity Center warns it has been used as a zero-day since at least May to breach multiple critical organizations, with traces removed to hide compromise. The Openbaar Ministry, the Dutch Public Prosecution Service, confirmed a breach linked to CVE 2025-6543 on July 18th, resulting in significant operational disruption and temporary loss of email services. CISA has added both of the vulnerabilities to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, ordering U.S. federal agencies to patch CVE 2025-577 within a day and to address CVE 2025-6543 by July 21st. Security researchers are urging all organizations to immediately apply Citrix updates, citing active exploitation and the potential for credential theft, network compromise, and disruption of critical services. Not patching internet-accessible Citrix appliances that are vulnerable to these exploits is beyond reckless at this point. And while the cyberstorm for Exchange and Citrix ramps up, there's a strong possibility of more Fortinet headaches in the forecast. Cybersecurity researchers are warning of a significant spike in brute force traffic aimed at Fortinet SSL VPN devices. Threat intelligence firm Grey Noise reported Tuesday that coordinated activity was first observed on August 3, 2025, involving over 780 unique IP addresses. In the past 24 hours, 56 malicious IPs have been detected, originating from the United States, Canada, Russia, and the Netherlands. Targets include the United States, Hong Kong, Brazil, Spain, and Japan. Grey Noise says the traffic was deliberate and precise, specifically targeting FortiOS profiles and not opportunistic. Analysts believe this indicates a shift in attacker behavior, potentially involving the same infrastructure pivoting to a new Fortinet-facing service. Historical data revealed by an earlier spike in June tied to a unique client signature linked to a FortiGate device in a residential ISP block managed by Pilot Fiber Inc. Historical data revealed an earlier spike in June tied to a unique client signature linked to a FortiGate device in a residential ISP block managed by Pilot Fiber Inc. 2 assault waves were identified, one long-running and steady, and another, starting after August 5th, a sudden, concentrated burst with a different TCP signature. While the August 3rd traffic targeted FortiOS, activity after August 5th shifted towards FortiManager, raising the possibility the tooling was tested or launched from a home network or via a residential proxy, something we've been observing more and more this year on the show. Researchers warn that spikes in malicious activity like this are often followed within 6 weeks by the disclosure of a new CVE affecting the same technology, particularly enterprise edge systems such as VPNs, firewalls, and remote access tools that are frequent targets of advanced threat actors. The warning here is clear. Heightened targeting may signal a new Fortinet vulnerability is coming. Get ready. Now, some thoughts on DEFCON 33. As I mentioned on the show on Monday, the sheer size of this 25,000 to 30,000 person security conference can be a lot to process. I was in awe watching hundreds of people compete in sector-specific capture the flag competitions for automobiles. Picture dozens of folks working on laptops on folded tables with network lines running from there into a real Rivian SUV and cargo van. Or folks trying to do the same to a real full-size boat that was part of the conference. Or in the case of aircraft, they had simulated aircraft with Lego models where you could actually see the little engine spinning and people trying to take over the planes. I had wanted to attend some of the dedicated villages and did see some fantastic deepfake work at the AI village, but never did make it through the multi-hour waiting lines for the social engineering village, which was a bit of a disappointment. The major talks were all quite impressive, but a few notable highlights. Watching ex-NSA chief Paul Nakasone do jello shots with DEFCON founder Jeff Moss, aka The Dark Tangent, was a bit surreal, but definitely part of the hacker vibe that's still being kept alive at DEFCON despite its now Godzilla-like size. Nakasone did have some sobering messages, particularly for his former colleagues, that they need to re-engage with the hacker and security community. He warned that the age and culture gap continues to grow between the tech world and Washington, D.C. The Trump administration has created significant uncertainty and, in many cases, growing hostility within the hacker community with its approach to domestic and foreign policy. Eaton Zavere, who works as a security researcher at software delivery company Harness, told attendees at the conference that the flaw he discovered allowed the creation of an admin account that granted unfettered access to the unnamed carmaker's centralized web portal. With this access, a malicious hacker could have viewed the personal and financial data of the car maker's customers, tracked vehicles, and enrolled customers in features that allow owners, or the hackers, to control some of their car's functions from anywhere, including things like locking and unlocking the car. Special props to teen hackers Ronaldo, Vasquez, Garcia, and Nix, who showed how they discovered some interesting and potentially disturbing spy features in a popular smoke and vape detecting IoT device. The device, made by a Motorola subsidiary, is called a Halo 3C, which they have since dubbed as the Snitch Puck. The device, they learned, goes beyond detecting smoking and vaping, including a distinct feature for discerning THC vaping in particular. It also has a microphone for listening out for, quote, aggression, gunshots, and keywords such as someone calling for help. These devices are commonly deployed in schools. During their DEFCON talk, they showed how they reverse engineered the device and learned how to take full control of it in order to turn it into a real-time audio eavesdropping bug. They disabled its detection capabilities, created fake alerts for vaping or gunshots, and even played whatever sound or audio they chose out of the device's speakers. The humor possibilities of this are endless. These kids are all right. A session that stood out to me was from a criminal hacker who goes by the alias Godman666, who it seemed was trying to reform his ways and make amends. Godman was recognized by Wired magazine in 2022 as one of, quote, the most dangerous people on the internet, end quote. And his talk covered how he operated in the darknet's criminal underbelly for over a decade. He started with carding, which is the practice of trading in stolen credit card information, before moving to spam operations and riving through drug distribution network the Silk Road, as well as Tor carding forums. He is alleged to have built phishing empires, sold hacking tools, and ran infrastructure for major darknet markets, including, he says, engineering one of the darknet's largest ever phishing operations. What stood out for me in his talk, besides the times he seemed less than remorseful, particularly for when he extorted other criminals when he learned their identities, blaming them for their poor operational security, was how he was recruited into a life of crime and drugs at such a vulnerable age, at 16. And now, how as a grown adult, he's never held a legitimate job in his life. I can't help but think of how groups like the COM, which are growing in size and scope and ensnaring younger, teenage, mostly males into the same path, could lead to an even greater explosion in the number of kids who are going to go down the same road as Godman666, which will create untold chaos for so many, including those perpetrators. But his warning at the end of his talk is what really chilled me. Godman666 warned that the increasing trend of firing waves of talented, skilled software developers around the world in a rush to embrace AI-generated code and efficiency could drive more people into the same criminal space that he lived in, just as they seek to survive. And that should give all of us pause, not to pull the full brake on AI, but certainly to heed warnings like this and think about how we're going to ensure that everyone can benefit from this new technological revolution. Because if we don't, the consequences could be real. As always, stay skeptical. Don't YOLO patches for critical services like Exchange on-prem or Citrix NetScaler. And we should all be thinking about how we can steer the next generation away from a life like Godman. We're always interested in your opinion, and you can contact us at editorial@technewsday.ca or leave a comment under the YouTube video. As well, and help us spread the word. Give us a like or subscribe, or leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you like the show, please tell others. We'd love to grow our audience even more, and we need your help. I've been your host, David Shipley, sitting in for Jim Love, who will be back on Friday. Thanks for listening.